Rissy, are you ready? Are you ready? I want to look closer at how to get perfect results every time. But before we head into the kitchen today, we're going to go through a bit of science and the 3 things you should try next time you roast a chicken. So the first thing to do is called a dry brine. I'm relatively new to the drying process, but I've been a big fan of wet brining for a few years now. Brining is just putting your meat into a salty solution for anything between 1 to 24 hours before cooking. What this does is help tenderize the meat and add flavor, especially if you add some herbs and spices to the solution. In the future, I will be doing a wet brine at some point, but today, sticking with the dry brine. So the dry brining process is very similar, but you're just using salt instead of a salt solution. So when you add salt to the skin, it causes water to leave the bird via a process called osmosis. So osmosis, if you can't remember your school biology lessons, is the passive movement of water through a semi-permeable membrane. In this example, the chicken skin. So the water goes from a low salt concentration, which is inside the bird, to an area of high salt concentration, which is where the salt is on the skin of the bird. So yeah, effectively, water leaves the chicken, then this water dissolves the salt, making a salty solution. Then this salty solution moves back into the chicken. So what this does is this helps break up the proteins within the chicken, allowing more water to be retained during cooking. Isn't that right, Rissy? So you can add a little bit of baking powder to the salt as well. The active compound in baking powder is sodium hydrogen carbonate, which does 2 things to the chicken. The first is that during the dry brine, as it is a basic compound, it forms a slightly alkali solution. Alkali solutions are better at breaking up the protein fibers, which will help further tenderize the meat. The second thing is that when it's heated in a hot oven, for example, is that it undergoes a thermal decomposition reaction, giving us carbon dioxide. And then this gas will form under the skin, providing small bubbles, increasing the surface area and producing more crispy skin. Also, during cooking, the salt helps to remove water from the skin, again via osmosis, which adds to the crisp. So the next thing to try is to make sure the chicken has been left uncovered to dry out for at least a few hours, but ideally overnight. This will happen of course in the fridge, but remember to bring your chicken out of the fridge 1 hour before cooking, as you always want to be cooking with room temperature meat. So this does sound counterintuitive as we're aiming for moisture. However, these extra steps help to dry out the skin, which makes it more crispy. It doesn't affect the meat, which is good news. So both of these steps require some planning, but it is only 5 minutes the day before you roast, so not too bad really. And we're going to find out if it is worth it in a few minutes' time. So the final thing we can do to ensure all of the chicken is cooked to perfection is to make sure all of the chicken is the same size and the same cut. So for the easiest and best results when roasting chicken, using a whole bird is not the answer. Again, in the future, I will look at how to cook a whole chicken best, but it takes more time to prep and it also takes longer to cook and it's harder to get right. So the main problem with a whole bird is that the legs need longer to cook, drying out the breast. So when it comes to doing a nice, quick, easy roast, I always go for legs, as they are easier to cook. So I either go for the whole leg, as we saw last week, or thighs, as I'm experimenting on today. As they're on the bone, it makes them even more forgiving, as the cooking times don't have to be spot on. You will get great results every time. So putting all of this into practice, let's experiment. So I'm going to head to the kitchen now to see if the effects of some of these things, all of these things, trying what I did last week again, will work. Today this is going to be the first time that I tried the baking powder method, and we will see how effective that is. So catch you in a few seconds. All right, so I've already covered the chicken in some lovely olive oil, and then going to do 3 of the thighs with this Malden sea salt. So this is kosher salt, but it is also mixed in. I've also mixed in some of the baking powder, so it's about 50-50 ratio between the baking powder, and the salt. Let me get that checked on, and then rub it all in a bit. I just don't want to wash my hands lots of times. And then the other two, so some more kosher salt, but this time we've got some smoked salt. Just why not? We're doing an experiment. Let's see what the smoked salt is like. So the smoked salt is slightly brown in colour. So getting that chucked on. And then rub this all in. And then this is going to be in the fridge, uncovered, overnight. So be around 24 hours. And then we'll prepare the other chicken. That's how I usually do it tomorrow, and then we'll all cook it at the same time, and then we'll see what the results will be like. So here is the chicken after it's been in the fridge dry brining for 24 hours. So it looks slightly different. It does look a little bit drier than what it used to. And that's going to go in the oven at 210 degrees for 45 minutes, so the same as last week. And here we go, it's now out of the oven. So got a big puff of steam there, making it slightly foggy on the camera, but we can see that it is very nice and crispy. We've got a nice colour on the chicken as well. So overall, very happy with it. The taste difference between the smoked salt and the regular salt was non-existent, but there we go. It's always good to do experiments. But yeah, it was really, really nice and crispy. So on to the next bit of chicken. So this hasn't been dry brined, and we've got trying 5 different things. So we can see I'm covering oil on 4 of them. So one of them is not going to have any oil on. That's just going to be salted. So we're going to add salt. So this is just regular salt, so this is not kosher salt. So adding salt to one, so that's just only got salt on. Then I'm just going to have one that's oil, so oil with no salt. Then that is oil and salt. So the third one I've done there, that is what I usually do. So that's what I regularly do. Now on to using Malden sea salt. So this is kosher salt, so seeing if we're getting any difference between kosher salt and just your regular cheap salt. And then the last one is going to be the Malden sea salt with some baking powder. Again, 5 different things here, so we're all just going to see what the difference is between these 5. But yeah, what I did just before I started filming this was patted it all dry, so the skins were as dry as you can get them, without leaving them to slowly dry out over the course of a day. And then added everything. So now just getting the salt rubbed in, the salt and the oil rubbed in, and then this is going to go straight in the oven. So yeah, it has been out of the fridge for about an hour, so it's almost at room temperature, so it's not straight really cold, but that's now going in the oven. Same again for 210 degrees for 45 minutes, and then here we go. We can hear now all of them are nice and crispy, and in fact the one with no salt on, that gave us some nice little bubbles with the skin as well. But yeah, all of them came out really, really crispy, and they all tasted great. So there was a slight difference between them, but not really. I suppose you could already tell that the one without salt didn't have salt on, but apart from that, they were all very, very similar. I would say I couldn't tell the difference between the regular salt and the kosher salt. Probably the only difference is that the one with the baking powder, the skin was maybe slightly crispier. Overall, very, very similar between everything. And then here we've got our picture now comparing the two, so we can see we did get a bit more color on the overnight brine, and overall they were a little bit crispier. Even if you prepare it on the day, I think the key thing is making sure you've patted the skin dry. It's room temperature, and then all of the pieces of chicken are the same. What a revelation. Dry brining is very easy, and it takes the same amount of prep. You just need to make sure you do it the day or the morning before. But if you forget, as you saw, you're still going to get really good results from just making sure that you pat the chicken dry before cooking. So comparing all the different methods, the slightly different methods that I tried, the results are very similar, but I think I accidentally added a bit too much salt to the second batch, so that might have improved the results. So when I roast next, I'm going to go for the overnight dry brine and control the amount of salt that I add, as you never want to be too crazy with the salt. But overall, I think no matter what you do, you're always going to get good results with cooking chicken that's the same size. So I think that really is the key takeaway. So on to what Rissy has been enjoying for this video. Yes, and that's right, it is chicken. You like chicken? Yeah, good girl. But yeah, no added salt, no added oil, so no crispy skins for you, puppy. Just a great source of protein. So dogs can eat raw chicken as long as it's fresh from the fridge. But what we have here is some dehydrated chicken breast. So the recipe is very simple. You just thinly slice some chicken, then put it in an oven at around 130 degrees for about an hour. But obviously the timing will depend on how thickly or thinly you slice the chicken. But basically when it starts to look a bit like bacon, you know that it is done. So chicken is of course a good source of protein for us, as well as it is for your favorite dog friend. Good girl, Rissy. Just remember to never give a dog a chicken bone, as they can splinter very easily, resulting in potential damage to their digestive tracts, which we don't want, do we? No, no, no. And on that happy note, thank you for watching, and if you've liked what you've seen, share, subscribe, tell a dog friend, and if you want a recipe to try with your new found chicken skills, then click over here. See you later. Bye, Rissy. Bye.